Recent reports reveal there's a serious chance that Kyle Lowry returns to the Toronto Raptors, as Masai Ujiri, who blew up the roster at last year's trade deadline, could be looking to bring back a familiar face. He's already brought him back, met with him this offseason, this summer, so we'll discuss that, including Cory Joseph speaking out against the senior men's national team. Team Canada, former Toronto Raptor Cory Joseph, longtime player for Team Canada basketball, is extremely outspoken and disappointed with how the selection process went for the Paris Olympics. So we'll discuss all of that in this video, particularly the Kyle Lowry stuff. Let's just jump straight into it, because frankly, I was shocked when I saw this sort of reports, these numbers coming out about the odds of Kyle Lowry returning to the team, because frankly, it's felt like a pipe dream for me. It's always felt weird looking at Kyle Lowry wear a Miami Heat jersey, a Philadelphia 76ers jersey after he left the Toronto Raptors. And given the direction of this franchise, given how, the tank happened at the end of last year, and it doesn't seem like things are going to immediately turn around for next season, the hope and wish of the Toronto Raptors grow Kyle Lowry returning to the team has felt like a pipe dream. However, report came out yesterday essentially revealing the odds of Kyle Lowry's sort of destinations in this offseason. And frankly, I was shocked about how high the Toronto Raptors have in terms of probability of landing Kyle Lowry. So you can see it here. The LA Clippers are the favorites to win the Kyle Lowry sweepstakes in the offseason. Clippers, plus 180. And then the Los Angeles Lakers, Phoenix Suns, and Toronto Raptors all tied in second place. The second most likely odds to land Kyle Lowry, ahead of the New Orleans Pelicans and Golden State Warriors. Now, if you're like me, these plus numbers mean absolutely nothing to you. You don't know how they work. Essentially, this is the implied probability at the plus 300 number. That's a 25% chance that Kyle Lowry is coming to the Toronto Raptors, according to these Vegas odds, according to these sports books, which frankly has me shocked, because Kyle Lowry, obviously in his later careers, wants to be competing, wants to try to win a championship, and he made a couple deep runs with the Miami Heat. Things got cut short this year with the Philadelphia 76ers, but the teams on this list, most of them are teams that are a little bit further along than the Toronto Raptors. Certainly, all the teams are, but are up there in age. The Clippers, the Lakers, the Suns, heck, even the Golden State Warriors are up there. The Pelicans are mid-age, but all teams that realistically, with a couple moves this offseason, might be able to take a leap, might be able to attract a Kyle Lowry to bring in and say, hey, this is your kind of spot to come in and have an impact. And frankly, the Toronto Raptors aren't in that type of position, right? Obviously, RJ Barrett, Scottie Barnes, IQ, a really nice core on this team, but the rest of the group, Jakob Poeltl was pretty solid at the center position as well, but this team was a squad that was tanking. That was not in a position to be winning games at the end of last year, so Kyle Lowry coming into a team that lost, how many games did we lose straight in last season, would be a bit of a surprise. But again, seeds were kind of planted when, that WNBA thing happened to the NBA, the little press conference, the announcement, and Kyle Lowry was sitting there front row with Masai Ujiri. Obviously, Kyle Lowry's a Raptors lifer, regardless of what teams he's playing on, he's always welcome back into the city. But now the odds are saying that he could return, and Kyle has spoken out on this in the past, basically when he came out and said that I am definitely retiring as a Raptor. That's something I've said since I've left here. I want to sign that one-day contract, and I will retire as a Raptor. So, again, this is kind of my expectation of Kyle Lowry potentially returning to the Toronto Raptors. One of those ceremonial one-day deals with him shaking Masai's hand, getting the new look jersey, whatever our jerseys look like on the day Kyle Lowry retires. That was always my thought, my hope, my dream. But, this would be 1,000 times better, honestly, because one, the Toronto Raptors have a young point guard in Immanuel Quickley who could use the guidance, the mentorship of a Kyle Lowry. That's the first thing. And secondly, we could use Kyle Lowry. Again, whatever you think about the Toronto Raptors trying to win, trying to lose, whatever boat you're in, the Toronto Raptors are going to try to do their best at the start of next season to ingrain somewhat of a winning culture into this young group, this young team, not trying to be like the Detroit Pistons in the future. That's what Masai, Ujiri, Bobby Webster, that Darko, Rajaković, they've all come out and said they're going to try to do their best, even though they foresee a multi-year rebuild. But Kyle Lowry was actually pretty good last season. Again, the stats aren't crazy. They're not overwhelming. 8 points per game, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. The minutes were dialed back, but 39% from behind the three-point line, 43% from the field, shot 45% on corner threes. Kyle Lowry is still a really, really solid, especially at this point in his career, a backup point guard. He was getting starter caliber minutes for the Philadelphia 76ers in the playoffs, and the Raptors have some clear holes at the backup point guard position. So If this team does not fill those holes come the NBA draft or early on in free agency or whenever these decisions have to be made, frankly, I think bringing in Kyle Lowry to solidify, be a veteran stable presence on the bench for the Toronto Raptors makes a ton of sense. And during a year where, again, maybe this team will shock people, and I'm rooting for this team to shock the NBA and play well and do their thing out there come next season, but in a season where there's definitely a chance where we are bad, where things aren't looking good, all of those type of stuff, a veteran Kyle Lowry to mentor, to guide this team is definitely something I would be up for. It would be a cool storyline to bring back, and then you'd have your debates of Vince Carter getting his jersey retired. It'd just be interesting narratives and storylines to follow going into next season. It is something I'd like to see happen for the Toronto Raptors. And I mean, let's look at the other teams on this list. The Clippers going to win a championship with Kyle Lowry? No. The Lakers? No. The Suns? Maybe if they fortify the rest of their bench and things like that, but still, I don't think they're a team that's really in contention. You know, Zion Williamson becomes a superstar, maybe the Warriors if they shock people, but I don't think any of the teams on this list are really in the running to win an NBA championship with Kyle Lowry, so he may as well come home, have a ceremonial finish off to his career, maybe give him a bit of money. I don't know. That's what I want to see for this Toronto Raptors group. But let's dive into the next topic of discussion, and basically, next thing we take a look at is Cory Joseph speaks out on the national team, and spell check ruined my spelling of Cory Joseph there, as it always says with the chapter generator. But basically, Kojo, obviously a dude that warmed the hearts of a lot of Toronto Raptors fans. In an era where we didn't have a lot of Canadians playing for the Raptors, now we have a ton. RJ Barrett, Chris Boucher, Kelly Olynyk, lots of guys on the Toronto Raptors. Kojo, you know, with the exception of Jamal McGlure, was one of those first sort of barrier breakers, Canadians joining the Toronto Raptors, and was a really solid guy during a lot of fun years for the Toronto Raptors. So he is a soft spot in a lot of Raptors fans' hearts, but really, for a lot of Raptors fans, that overlaps with Team Canada basketball fans. Cory Joseph has really just made his impact known on the national stage, because every year he played for Team Canada, and frankly, I just thought it was a given. He'd be on the roster for the Paris Olympics, even though he didn't get a lot of run in the NBA this season, all those types of things, but he did not make the national team roster, and he spoke out about it, saying, I took the honor of playing for your country very seriously, and I did it many times over the years. This is not me complaining. I'm not a complainer, but there were times when I put FIBA basketball and playing for my country over my NBA situation at the time. Whether I was in a contract year or I had no contract at the time, I went to go play for my country. Whether I had a little bumps or tweaks, I was there. Whether guys came out or not, I always thought we still had a chance. For me, it's a little disheartening to be like, wow, I wasn't even given the opportunity to compete for a position. So that's what Cory Joseph had to say regarding the decisions that were made for the Team Canada roster, the pool that was made. Obviously, Cory Joseph, he hasn't done much in the NBA recently. 2 points per game for the Warriors this season. You know, 1 rebound, 1 assist, was not on the roster, didn't play a ton of games, didn't get a ton of opportunities. So these numbers are an extremely small sample size and limited run. All of that type of stuff. Cory Joseph, averaging 8 points per game in previous seasons, isn't completely washed, isn't just, if we, something ceremonial, like bringing Steve Nash in to play for Team Canada or something. Cory Joseph is still an NBA caliber guy, but given his history with the team, and the shocking thing is, yes, Cory Joseph, this Team Canada team is loaded. We'll take a look at the roster here now, but the fact you don't even bring him in for camp, you don't bring him in to try out, to have that opportunity to compete against the Nickeil Alexander-Walkers, these other dudes on Team Canada, is just disrespectful, honestly. And that's RJ Barrett's dad, who controls apparently the roster decisions and stuff. And again, am I saying Cory Joseph should be a deserving guy in terms of the talent level that the Team Canada has right now? I mean, it's tough, right? At the guard position alone, we have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's one of the most elite defenders for the Timberwolves, one of the best defenses in the NBA this season. RJ Barrett, we know how good he is, right? At the guard position, Dylan Brooks, who was a monster for Team Canada recently. Lou Dort, right? Conference finals with elite defense there, right? Shea, MVP caliber player, Jamal Murray, Andrew Nembhard, all these types of guys that play the guard position. It's tough. It's a tough spot for Cory Joseph being. Again, this roster, this list is the projected lineups. A lot of people just expected Cory Joseph to be there for the Team Canada, the training camp invites, but they didn't even bring Cory Joseph into camp despite him being on this list here now at this point. And I get it. Talent-wise and stuff, you look at that list and you say, hey, Cory Joseph, just given your age, how the time has passed, you can't compete with these dudes, but you gotta let him be there. You gotta let him be there. And frankly, given his years of service, We don't want to make the national team a charity event or something. Let him be a coach. Let him do something to be involved with this Team Canada national team that I don't want to say has a high probability of winning a medal at the Olympics, or can knock off this USA powerhouse team with Joel Embiid added to the mix, all that type of stuff. But I don't know. Just sucks to see Cory Joseph get the short end of the stick after he's been a guy that's been a diehard for Team Canada for year after year. During the little tournaments, the big tournaments, he's always there playing for the country. So I don't know. I hope Cory Joseph has an opportunity to play for Team Canada or be involved in some which way. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys are the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel. I'm signing out. Cheers.